physical part of it is so easy and simple. The working out is easy for most, but for a lot, it's still so difficult.
If your physical capabilities are capped because you're not putting time into the gym, your skills are going to get capped too. There is a mindset difference. There is a difference in terms of they understand every aspect of their life matters.
Send those people a message.
Nurture.
One day they're going to finally read a message that resonates with them, or they finally have changed their mind.
Welcome to this edition of the Balanced CEO podcast. I'm excited to bring to you today one of my people. He's been with me either as a trainer of mine, like my own personal trainer, or he's been helping me run a fitness business for the better part of the last 15 years. Vinnie Palo.
You said that wrong.
It's Palillo?
It's Palillo.
Damn it.
But that's a good way to start it.
I always thought it was the opposite, and I was just messing around with the Palillo.
Nope, Palillo is right. That's me.
That's what you get for having a name with two L's in California.
Yeah. Hey, I've heard so many versions of that last name. I think that's what it makes it so unique, because I've never seen anybody with it. So that's me.
All right. Well, Vinnie Palo, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. What do you do around here?
Well, for the last 7 years, I've been helping put together, what we're sitting in right now, Altamont Performance Lab. That's been our baby, our project the last 7 years, probably the last, like you said, 15, 20 years in the making. So strength and conditioning coach, I've always been coach, trainer. I've always been involved in the fitness industry, whether it was corporate side of things and, now almost the last decade, getting back to the community side of things. I've been fortunate to work in those big 50,000 square foot facilities to what I wholeheartedly prefer every single day now is our little 1,000 square foot spot with roll up door, some lights up above, and what we drew up on a line sheet of paper years ago, so that's pretty much what I've been doing, running Altamont Performance Lab, developing coaches, just bringing strength and conditioning to our town. Grew up here as well, went to school here, and it's always been a void. You and I both know that, now that you've got a little one growing up now, it's even more important to...
It's more apparent too.
Get him exposed to it. He sees what you do and he sees what the kids do here. And I think that's the beauty of what we do is eyes are always watching, even though we've been here 7 years, there's people that still don't know that we are here and that's what we're trying to change. This platform definitely is going to do wonders for what we're trying to do for this town.
I would dare say tens of thousands of people still don't know who we are, but that's partially because this is kind of an ever-growing transplant city. Lots of people are currently transplanting from the Bay Area, so they're coming in here not really knowing who we are. Obviously, they know the basics, Planet Fitness, the In Shapes of the world, stuff like that have locations everywhere. But
yep.
I think to a lot of the newer people in town, we are kind of an unknown commodity, and that's totally normal and understood. And our job is to educate them. We could talk about the personal training side later. I think that'll be a fun thing to kind of revisit, but let's talk about APL a little bit more. So it was 2018, right? Was it 2018? We got an offer to work with a couple of the kids at
West
Tracy High.
West High.
West High. It was West High.
That
Okay.
Goes back to the late Coach Toon.
That's right. We got the volleyball team. That's kind of what really triggered it. I was thinking the football players, but you're right. It was the volleyball team. We got a whole summer with them. And then we got a couple of freshmen.
Yep.
From the Tracy High football team. Shout out Coach Strout. He wanted to see if we could help them get ready to start as sophomores on the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like kind of the beginning of it, right? Like we didn't really think anything of it. We were like, okay, we'll do this inside CFT. I always knew that was something you were passionate about. Shout out Coach Matt, who used to be a member or used to be a coach with us. He's in Kentucky, flying helicopters. He and Vinnie teamed up to run this program for them and got a ton of success. I think those kids put on like 15 pounds of muscle in that summer.
Yeah. Most of them were combination of 8th graders, freshmen, and Coach Toon always did such a great job of what she did for the kids. If they couldn't afford programs, she would pay for it out of her own pocket. And this is coming from a high school teacher.
Yeah, not on a huge salary.
No. And Coach Toon had spent the first chunk of her career at Tracy High. She's coached some of the moms of kids that work out here, even our 2 coaches, Kieran and Mason, their mom was coached by her when she was in high school way back in Tracy High. So it's kind of a full circle thing. But even then, all those years go by, there's still no strength and conditioning being done for any of these kids. And, you mentioned Coach Matt, I learned so much from him from the CrossFit side of things. And he was just always passionate about coaching in general. Being an athlete, being active military, it's kind of, it needed to be a part of his life, just like it was for me. And, we had all this space too over at CFT Fitness. We had that giant strip of turf, and it was simple. They were pushing sleds. We were throwing med balls. They were just learning to create habits. And these were kids that had access to a weight room at their high school. They didn't use it. They still don't use it to this day. You definitely can see the difference in schools. The boys I have got to coach the last 2 years at Tracy High, we just put up over 60 points against this other high school from town. And you can see the difference in just athleticism, just health in general with these kids. And Coach Toon was also passionate about that. It's like, we have all these girls. Some never even played sports. She did a great job of just finding kids in her PE class and, hey, do you want to try volleyball? And most of the time it was, yeah. And then, hey, we can train you. And I remember Carrie at the time too. Mm-hmm. She was helping out. We had Coach Gloria, or Coach K, as everyone calls her, and she's still a member at CFT.
That's right.
So everybody's still around in some aspect. Even Carrie's teaching now and back in education and working with athletes. Even Coach Toon's daughter, Lauren, who worked out here her entire high school career, rehabbed an ACL, got back to it, had a great collegiate career at Jessup University. And now she's back. She's graduated. She's teaching. She's coaching. She goes and does tons of mission work all over the world. And it's just great to see, what we just thought was an idea turned into, now we have a business that can not only continue giving back to the community, we can keep putting back into this. And we have the studio now. We used to record podcasts up at our front desk, with lawn chairs.
I still have that video.
Yes,
it just came up on my.
We still have. I can,
memories.
if you can look back on the CFT Fitcast, those are 10 years old, if not more, and it's pretty cool to be able to have this platform now to shine light on what we're doing and get more people to find the education on strength and conditioning, and knowing that it's what your kids need if they're going to get involved in sports. And from the other side, even if they don't play sports, being strong, being healthy, that stuff is for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really important for people to understand that, skills and physical capability are two different things. Like, if your physical capabilities are capped because you're not putting time into the gym, your skills are going to get capped too, because eventually your body can't do more because
Absolutely.
you haven't trained it to be adaptable to do more. So there's a volume and a strength and certain things that when while you're young, you could basically focus on skill for a long time, right?
Mhm.
Because you're malleable, you're flexible, all these things are happening. And then you hit puberty and then muscle starts coming and then you start getting slightly less flexible, slightly less malleable, you're clumsy, things are happening. And now you realize like, no matter how much you focus on the skill side, you're not really getting much better after a while because you're not strong enough. You're not fast enough. Your quick twitch fibers aren't quite adapted enough or built to the point where your hand-eye coordination can keep up with other kids that are putting in the time on both sides.
Oh, 100%. I think we get away from foundation first, right? And we designed our own pyramid, for athletic development. And, at the top of the pyramid and very tiny writing, it's wins and losses. And I think a lot of the time we're so hung up on, we just need to win all the time. If you look at youth sports, it's, especially in California, it's kids can play one sport year round. You have tournaments on the weekends where kids could be playing 5 games, 10 games, dozens of games. And these are in a 2-day span where professional athletes, we've been watching professional sports for a long time and it's 1 game a day. You might get the rare doubleheader. And these kids are, kids that we coach that come here that, we had an 8-game tournament, practice all week, tons of private lessons. If you're talking about baseball and softball players, it's heavy on the skill. And I think it's due to a fact of it's what everybody else is doing. It becomes a comfort thing as opposed to with strength training and lifting weights, we're still afraid of it. It's going to stunt my kids' growth. It's going to make them tired. We couldn't possibly lift on game day or on practices. It's how, we don't have time for you. But we're always going to have time for these other things. And we've had so many athletes come through our doors, and the best ones that we've had the opportunity to coach have figured it out. They realize and they value their time. It doesn't have to be every single day. It's knowing how to manage your schedule and knowing if you want to play at that higher level, it's going to be expected of you. If you don't like doing 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. now, you're not going to probably ever see collegiate level sports because their day starts at 5, 6 a.m., maybe even 4 a.m., depending on what your strength and conditioning coach's methodology is or what sport you're trying to play. And if you're avoiding it now and you can't wait until you hit those certain ages. It makes more sense to start younger and knowing that, especially here, our coaches understand how to program for younger, littler ones that aren't developed versus ones that have hit puberty that might be coming in a little bit later. But those older ones that say start later, they're still going to start with the foundational stuff. We're never just, you're older, you're getting a barbell, you're going to be maxing out today. It's no, I want to build your foundation up, and really good coaching. It's boring, right? I was listening to strength coach Fred Duncan the other day, and it's our job is not to entertain you. It is to really facilitate the day, provide you tools and the right type of exercises to help you get better. I already know most of them are good and gifted at their sport, right? But people want sport specific, right? They want the flash, they want the gimmick. And, he used a great example. It was, hockey player comes in, dad wants me to have him holding his hockey stick while he's training and do plyometrics. And it's like, that's just, oh, sure. Yeah, I'll sell that to you. I can do that. It's like, no, a hockey player wears skates. He plays on the ice. How are we going to mimic that in any setting, right? Where's the crowd? Where's all the gear you're wearing? Just any sports specific session, you can't mimic any of that physiological stress, the emotional stress, right? It could be a football player doing fancy stuff with rubber bands, and it's like, okay, you have no defense charging down your throat. You don't have the roar of the crowd, the clock, the refs, all these things. So it's like, yeah, I could sell you anything because that's what most parents want. And it's like, I'm not here to sell you that stuff. I'm here to sell you what's actually going to work. And you and I have learned really well if we're not for everybody.
No, that's okay. But I mean, sports specific, to be clear though, we can do sports specific,
Absolutely.
But sports specific, what we mean by sports specific is like, if you're a golfer doing certain rotational, core rotational movements to strengthen your hips and your abdomen and things like that to generate power.
Absolutely.
Right. If you're a hockey player, it's fairly similar mechanics. So we'd probably focus on similar things, leg strength. If you're a baseball player and you're a pitcher, our goal is to get you to like what, a 400-pound deadlift. That's like one of the key metrics.
Strong arm, strong shoulder.
Right. And it's like a 400-pound deadlift, though, is like a key metric to the 90 mile an hour pitch, right? Without hurting yourself.
People want a fancy arm care program,
right?
Where in reality, arm care is just good strength training, right? Knowing your athlete and assessing what time of the year is it? Like, do they need to gain weight, lose weight? You know, I see over 100 football players Monday through Friday. I'm with them in the weight room. I'm with them out on the field. I'm handling sprinting, accelerating. But then I have all my big boys, right? We call them our trench dogs. We have specific mobility stuff for them, addressing ankle, hip, right? Same thing with kids that are coming here. You know, that's why we personalize everything. You know, it's not kids coming in, standing in front of a whiteboard. They're all doing the same thing. We're all sharing the same weights. Oh, we ran out of things, right? Now we've met with you before you ever even touch the floor. What do you need, really? And good training, good coaching should cost a good amount of money because the value is there in what we do. And I understand not everybody sees that. A lot of people, especially with kids, want discounts. They want the cheaper version of what we're doing. And 9 out of the 10 times that person comes back because they realize that, hey, I made a bad decision and I'm here to make a good one finally. You know, it's education like you talked about earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any time you're willing to invest in your kids is a bad decision. It's just, I think sometimes you just outweigh the positives and you kind of find that you get what you pay for. And then, you know, sometimes they realize they want something a little more robust in terms of the knowledge and the background and the hustle and the things that matter. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes the lesser program is a better fit, and that's okay too. Whether it's budgetary or just the kid isn't that committed, right? And parents see that and would rather pay less and see if they find a passion for it. So I get it as a parent myself. Let's talk a little bit more about your schedule. So you are here. You're also the strength and conditioning coach at Tracy High for football and baseball. And then you're having to balance those two things and still focus on getting your own work done, your own fitness in. How are you kind of balancing those days? Like, what does your day normally look like?
Well, I mean, it used to look a whole lot different. I think over the last few years, it's gotten a whole lot better where I've gotten a lot more freedom within my day and how I do things. You know, I used to be that trainer who was at the gym 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., do it all day, do it all afternoon, sleep in your car, come back, brag about being the first one in and the last one out type person. And it's like, no, that's how you really experience the burnout. And I think coming from the corporate side of things where it's like, that's how it had to be, working all those years for 24-hour fitness, you've got numbers you have to hit, metrics you have to hit, bonuses you're trying to make, the money was there, but you had to be that person pulling 12, 15-hour days and bragging about it. And that was nothing to brag about. Now I can wake up when I need to in the morning and my wife's right next to me. The dogs are right there. I can do my morning, right? And I've been fortunate enough to get business mentorship, through Two Brain. That's something that you've been a big part of, and learning things like the golden hour, right? Like having that chunk in the morning where it's just for me. It can allow me to focus on the tasks for the day, right? So I'm not stressed about coming into the gym, right? Or doing any of that. I don't have to rush. My day begins with once Trista goes to work, and she's a preschool teacher, so she's out the door every day at 7:15 in the morning. So we're still up pretty early. But the thing that I have gained was I gained my evenings back, and being able to come home at night and have dinner, even being able to come here and, now my day can start at 9, 10 a.m. And we've done a great job with having our day filled with homeschooled kids and offering strength and conditioning to kids that really need it, that don't get traditional PE or physical education. I can fill my day with meaningful personal training clients. I have an autistic guy who's been coming here for years, who our gym is just it's a part of his life. It's every day for him. Shout out to Robert. He's an awesome dude, and it's like you said, it's always been about doing the meaningful work that eventually has able to make me more money too, and give me the life that I've wanted to have. I don't have children, but I have 3 furry ones, and I see hundreds of kids every single day. And I can be a parent to all of them and have time during the day to work out, train. And I think through having a business mentor and all of that has allowed me to not have to figure out all of those little things that I wasn't figuring out. Thought I knew everything until you get a mentor. And then it's like, man, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. And it's always like we've always had the ideas, but whether or not we've acted them out and actually brought them to fruition, right? That's allowed me to have way more freedom. I can sit, record, do these things, go work out, go take a nap if I need to, or I can go home because I know that I don't have to coach later. I have an amazing staff of coaches that are just as passionate as me, and they're here running the gym. Just this past year, I took like a vacation for, I don't even know what those are. And I didn't have to worry about, is the gym okay? We went to Chicago for a week. I didn't have to worry if the gym was okay. The gym was fine. It made money. It was profitable. It was still standing. That's the freedom that we've always talked about. And I've been doing this now. I'm coming into my 20th year of coaching, right? I'm going to turn 40 next year. And I've planned out the next 10 years of my life. And it looks really good right now, where I used to be like, damn, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to pay this bill or buy food or what. But I've still have always shown up. But now it's like I can show up with a completely different perspective. Just bought a new Jeep, for Trista and I a few months ago, right? It's little things, that have just taken a while, but you and I both know that this stuff takes a while.
Yeah.
Right?
You gotta have some serious patience.
Most people that I started out with in this industry, they're not doing it anymore. They didn't want the long haul, right? They didn't see that bigger picture for me where it's like, I don't want to go clock in for someone or put pants on when I go to work ever. Um, it's like team t-shirt and shorts for life. And it's a pretty good life. It's just like they told us, don't get tattoos. You know, they're going to look at you funny. You're not going to get any jobs. And I think it's more like it's a fear that people have. And if I do this, I can't do that. And it's like, no, man, you and I are covered in them. And we get to do some pretty cool things and live an awesome life. And we do it on our own terms. Right. And it's that be your own boss mentality that some people talk about it. I think we're living proof of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think patience and effort are is the concoction that really, and having a vision, right? Like kind of knowing where you want to go and knowing what metrics. And I think that's the thing that a mentor has really provided for us is a filter on some of these ideas, an encourager when it's time to put those ideas into action, the ones that have been filtered through, and then having the metrics to know where you're starting and where you're trying to go, right? Because if you don't know where you're starting from, you don't really have a path to get to where you're trying to go. So those metrics really help you identify with this program, what gap am I filling? What hole, what am I raising here? What is it going to improve? What metrics is it going to improve? Why is that important? It's really easy to buy into, and then push when things kind of push back, right? Because there is those, no matter what, you're going to get pushback, no matter how perfect a program is, how great and life-changing something can be, an idea can be, you know, life is going to push back.
Absolutely. You know, it's like you said, life happens. You know, people cancel gym memberships, right? They lose a job. It's something happens in life. I think the gym membership, right? We're always going to be on the chopping block, right? But I think we've done such a great job of putting so much value into it, because we can go back to COVID when we had to shut the gym down for more than 3 months. We didn't lose a single member. We actually gained members, right? Because we always had a playbook, right? We were always about thriving at that point. And it was, if we can't use the gym, it'll still be a vessel in some way. It was, we gave equipment to our gym members. It was, hey, we'll just give you the value.
Yep.
We know you're going to use it, right? I took pride in not having to do a single Zoom class. It was just, we already were dipping our toes into remote coaching, and we always had those ideas of how can we provide more, right, to our members, whether it was personal training or remote coaching, mobility, recovery lounge. You know, it was everything was always an idea. And like you said, business mentorship, Two Brain, you know, shout out to our mentors. I've had the privilege of working with Anna for a while now. And it's just, like you said, you could be doing great, but she will find something that, hey, you need to just work on this. It's going through what's not working.
Yep.
What's working the most? We don't need that. What about the under? There's always something.
The undertow. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the big thing for me was just simple things like lead nurture. We have hundreds of people that are just sitting there. Send them a message. Send those people a message.
Nurture.
One day they're going to finally read a message that resonates with them, or they finally have changed their mind and they're ready to come. And we've had that happen. Or
they have a shitty experience somewhere else. In my experience, that is the number one thing that I've noticed is like, you just happen to send an email or text at the perfect time after they had a shitty experience somewhere else. And they've just opened their mind to, I think I need to explore other options. And you just happen to fall into their inbox.
Yep.
Right after that happens, and they like immediately call and go, hey, let's explore this.
So you can always invite those people back. Like even someone that didn't sign up, or maybe they were here for X amount of months and, hey, we're too busy, right? The too busy folks eventually probably forgot how busy they were. And with kids' sports today, they're constantly changing teams, right? Or I'm going to go play a different sport. I would rather have them playing multiple sports, right, than just sticking to one, right? Because if you're going to stick to one, there's a lot more demand with just that one sport. Because the kids that we've worked with that are one sport athletes, they are living in the gym when it's not their sport. And that's what a lot of kids aren't willing to do.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of misinformation from other influences in their life. You need to play the sport year round. And I get the idea that you need to play year round. By play, I mean, I read an article recently about two brothers who were on the U.S. men's national team for soccer, who both played in the highest leagues in the world in soccer. One of them played in the Bundesliga in Germany, and the other one played in the Champions League in I think one of the UK teams. And the dad realized, I mean, years and years ago when they were kids, that the number one difference between Europe and America in terms of why they're so advanced in their developmental system to America is they don't really focus a ton on skills and the fancy development stuff until those kids are like 14. Until then, they play. Like a majority of their time in those development systems is scrimmages and playtime and, juggling the ball and just playing, like just having fun.
Absolutely.
And like, that's the thing has been lost in youth sports here is like, oh no, it's high competition, travel year round. Now, if you're 14, 15 years old and baseball is the thing you're going to do, you have a season. It is the season that matters, right? There's the one season where the highest competition is all playing. That's the season that matters, right? In European development, same thing. They have one season that matters. The rest of the year, that other 7-8 months of the year, they're playing.
Yep.
They're having a good time. They might not play other sports because they're getting basically a scholarship to play in these developmental soccer leagues. They have a contract, but they're not playing like it's life or death.
No.
So they're like frazzled by the time they're 18 or 19 years old, and they can't handle the idea of competition anymore. Their nervous system has been fried, right? Because everything is life or death. Everything is win or lose year round.
Yeah. And if you look at like strength and conditioning as a whole, like everything we have here is pretty much derived from European and Soviet type training. And you look at it's like, even now, like I think just looking at like European wrestling, how Russians and they all do it. They start such a young age, and it's more enforced on you're growing up with a specific group and age, and you're going to develop, and it's simple things, and even traditional strength and conditioning, it's always been more emphasis on run, skip, hop, jump, throw things, right? And it all resorts back to play, right? Play is important. Practice is important, but if you go to back to the bottom of our pyramid, it's teaching them about nutrition, and they have to learn the importance of sleep. And then it's building that foundation of just basic things, the run, skip, hop, jump, jump rope, right, is a lost art. A lot of kids don't do that anymore, and that's something that really is important to be able to do as an athlete. Even it might seem simple, or I don't need to do that as an athlete. It's like, well, I probably can pick you apart now once you start to have to run, skip, hop, jump, right? You'll find some sort of gap with everybody, or what does this athlete avoid, right? What ticks them emotionally, right? The physical part of it is so easy and simple. The working out is easy for most, but for a lot, it's still so difficult, right? Even the best athletes, they're just really, really, really good at making basic, boring stuff look even better, right? All I really have to do is tell them what to do, give them that clear direction, hype them up. They do all the work, right? Being in high-level weight rooms, it's fun. Like, I don't think a lot of high school kids, if they're not fortunate to be around it, it's so contagious. That stuff away from the field and away from the sport, and female athletes are doing it just as good at the high levels. I talked about the other day on social media, one of our girls here, Madison, who's been training with us for like 6 years, maybe even 7, going back to, she was like a 6th or 7th grader. She's now a senior. She's got a scholarship to play softball at Cal State Monterey, which is a prestigious D2 program. And her coaches gave her specific directions for the next year. Focus on getting stronger. We need you to get bigger, and we need you to get faster. It wasn't, we need you to work on your swing. We need your arm stronger. We need you to work on your glove. And because they already know she's really good at that stuff. And they already know she's going to do that stuff on her own. But it's these other things. And if you focus on that for a year, your freshman year with us looks so much better if you didn't, because then it's probably, we're going to redshirt you. We're going to need you to develop for a year, which that's still a good thing because they want to invest in you. It's not, hey, we're going to take your scholarship away because there's another girl who's way better than you, and that's the route we're going to go. It's like they gave you a clear direction. You can't go do that at Planet Fitness.
But it's cutthroat, man. Like with NIL and the transfer portal, it's becoming more common. They are not developing you anymore.
No, and colleges don't want high school kids.
They're expecting you to walk in knowing exactly how to use a weight room, exactly how to move around one, what lifts are what, how to do it properly. Like, because if not, they can pull kids from JUCO. They can pull kids from the transfer portal that can do everything you can do, but they also understand all those things already. And that's what we're trying to get in parents' head more than anything. Most of the time, the kids are like, yeah, I'll do it. But it's parents that struggle with the cost. Well, I've always been told it shouldn't be that much. Or, oh, well, his friend Johnny goes to another place that's a group model. And it's cheaper. What's the deal? Or, I was talking to one gentleman, his kids went to TPI, Titleist Performance Institute, and they're golfers. And I'm like, awesome. What do you really want? Well, I want something more specific. That's what we do. Okay. So it's a group. No, it's not a group. Like, he could not wrap his head around the fact this was not a group model. And why wasn't it roughly the same price, but for more? And I'm like, well, what you're asking for is a lot of outside time above and beyond this, the hour and a half, depending on the, level your kid is at, right? Like our 16, 17, 18-year-olds are here 90 minutes or more. They also require more, right? They require more development, and they have the physical capabilities to handle the volume. So it's like, yeah, you want your kids to get more, you got to pay more because it's more time. It's more development. It's more thought into the program. It's more science. It's more testing. It's, there's so much that goes into it. And I think parents just struggle with the idea that like Crunch Fitness that just opened I can pay $49 a month or whatever the number is. I'm throwing a random number. I haven't even looked.
And now you have a fully functioning weight room.
Right. Like, and you're going in this fully functioning weight room. It's really cool. And you got like a group class, like they can do, it's like HIIT style, whatever, with someone who maybe has a lot of experience with adults that want to just lose weight. But, Susie or Johnny, who's 14 or 15 years old and trying to get a scholarship, needs to understand how to use a weight room, like how to really do it right. Because when they go into this weight room, and a strength and conditioning coach watches them squat and realizes they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Absolutely.
He goes, you're an injury risk. I can't have you in the weight room. The coach is going to go, if you can't be in the weight room and you're not strong enough already, go ahead and kick rocks. I'm pulling this kid from the transfer portal instead.
And now on the cheap side of things, you're walking into maybe like a $5 million weight room, right? If you're going all in, and we're talking like Georgia Bulldogs, you're walking into an $80 million facility. We're talking nutrition. You have athletic trainers. You get hurt, you don't even have to go to a doctor. They have it all right there. And it's like, in order to get to that level, right? You have to be now, if you're going to be that high school kid who thinks they're going to get a scholarship, you have to be literally a top 100 kid, like a 5-star, right? You better have a 4.0 or higher, because if you have a 4.0 or higher, almost 90% of schools can look at you, right? If you're that, sorry to say, dumber athlete, less schools will look at you. They don't have to give you anything. And there's only money in football and basketball. Everything else, it's You might get academic money. You might get athletic money. Could be 40%, 50%.
Right. Usually half is like a really good deal in a lot of other sports.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It all comes down to how good are you? They don't care how good your high school team was and if you win league all the time, because they'll look at it. What league do you play in? Who do you play? They're going to look at what happens when you play those bigger schools that you can't beat. And it's looking at things like, well, those schools probably invest in strength and conditioning. At Tracy High, I graduated 20 years ago. We had nothing. We have a weight room. But even now, I only work with baseball and football. What about all the other sports? We're still relying on the sport coach who is probably a teacher, already overworked. And now you're going to hope they run a practice plan and go into the weight room. How do we justify that? Where you need a professional in those instances. That's why you shouldn't want your kid to go wander Crunch Fitness, try to figure it out themselves, or my kid does it on their own. In that situation, I can still program for your kid that wants to go do it on their own. I'm all for it. But
as long as it's progressive.
Yeah.
Linear progression.
I think we look at even when you and I were younger, we all trained like bodybuilders, right? We're not training like athletes and training the qualities that we need out on the field. And then that could result in more injuries or just a lesser conditioned kid. Or when they, like you said, when they finally walk into a collegiate weight room, we've known kids that have had their scholarships taken away because you can't cut it at that level. And when you look at collegiate sports, even college baseball, this last College World Series, there's not a kid under 200 pounds on a collegiate roster. There are some outliers, but those kids are even better, right? You can't compare yourself to Altuve or a Bregman, right?
There's a certain natural ability that you
and
can't
natural
teach.
talent.
Like there's a natural talent. I guaranteed they weren't even just head and shoulders. They were like 10 times better than the
absolutely.
Next kid.
And it's like they've
Mike Trout was just not 10 times better than every other kid.
And the thing I love about like guys like Trout or even like a Bryce Harper, who like we were talking about Bryce Harper when the kid was 16 years old.
Yeah.
And he was deadlifting 400 plus pounds even before that. It's like even like Holiday's kid, Jackson Holiday. It's like these guys grew up around elite, right?
Yeah.
Look at LeBron's kids, even Tiger's son, right? Genetics does play a role. Some things do trickle down, but there's always going to be athletes that have to work that much harder.
Yeah. Eddie George, I got all sorts of stories on that one.
Yeah. And it's like college coaches don't care if you were the best kid on your high school team, because in college, every kid was the best on their high school team, and they were probably better than you, or they probably played at a powerhouse.
Yep.
They're probably used to winning. Oh, I won 4 district titles and I went to state all 4 years. You won your league. Cool. Right. It's things like that where it's like, you can see the difference. It's like we play in a league with private school, like St. Mary's, out of Stockton, where you see, well, yeah, we have 48 kids. They have 90 because they've got 2 squads. They're developing kids, and every kid that comes in, or it's why parents send their kids to IMG Academy.
Yep.
I'll put down $100,000 a year for my kid to go be around the best.
Shout out to my mindset coach I've had for the last 5 years, Adam Saucedo. He's a mindset coach for IMG Academy.
Very
so
cool.
he does like remote psychological mental preparation with the kids at IMG. And he talks about, he can't say a lot, obviously patient privilege, but at the same time, he does mention like there is a mindset difference. Like there is a difference in terms of they understand every aspect of their life matters.
Oh, absolutely.
Sleep, food,
everything,
right? Training,
everything,
practice, like every ounce of their day matters.
Yeah.
Like there isn't a part of their day that is wasted.
And IMG opened up their season against, I think it was a Tennessee powerhouse high school, public school that wins the Tennessee state championship every single year. Great looking program. IMG made them look like a Pop Warner team.
Yep.
Right. You can see, I mean, IMG's got guys that are got a 6'7" person on, but it's the best want the best.
Yep.
Right. That's why Russell Wilson spends $1 million on his health and wellness every year. You know, it's these Tom Brady, everybody will talk about how much money they put in. And most of these athletes today, they're very vocal on what youth sports look like. Cause now they all have kids. Like guys like, I love like listening to Greg Olson, you know, even like Chipper Jones, you know, talk about how they look at youth sports. Cause they didn't do that when they played. Even when I played baseball as a kid, it was, you played your season. You had your rec ball, right? If you were good enough, you got invited to All-Stars. If you made that team, you got to play through the summer. And then it was, you enjoyed the summer, or football season was starting.
Right. Or if you were really, really like, I mean, elite, you got into like travel,
maybe AAU
Cal Ripken
stuff.
type
Yeah.
league.
Which it was like travel ball then was always extremely exclusive.
Yep.
Now it's any mom or dad out there can start a team because they got a sour taste in their mouth from the team that their kid just played on. And you see how easy it is to just rally up some people, and everybody's just kind of picking from the same pool of kids, and nobody's developing them.
Right.
They love to throw around the word development. And I think that just takes away from what we're trying to do from the strength and conditioning side of things. Staying in our lane is something that we've really loved to say for the last 7 years. And that's why we're still here and we're not going anywhere.
Right. Like, I mean, I could tell all sorts of stories about Eddie George. I mean, from the years he went to the same high school I did, we didn't go at the same time, but we had the same coaches, and the stories which is driven into our head. You know, Eddie was the third most talented running back on the team. There was 2 running backs far more talented than him. But our coach gave a workout plan because we were expected to work out.
Mm-hmm.
And he took that like it was the prep for the SATs, and he was trying to go to Harvard. And he went all in on strength and conditioning, made himself an absolute unit through the training that they gave him and the food that they told him to eat and everything else. And he basically slept and breathed in that weight room. And by his junior year, he started creeping up. By his senior year, he was up there. And then he did a postgraduate year, if I remember correctly. We had a postgraduate team. He did a postgraduate year, absolutely by far the most talented player on the team, and got a full ride to Ohio State. And the rest is history. Cool. Heisman, NFL, like just, you know, but like had he not fixed that gap and attacked the weight room the way he did, you wouldn't know his name today.
Yeah. And there's a lot of late bloomers, right? It's some people develop later in life, but it's even the late bloomers are good at being consistent.
Yep.
And I mean, if you're not consistent, and I mean, it takes a while, like, you know, I need to gain 20 pounds. I need to increase my bench, get my vertical. I need to get my 40 time down. They don't realize like it takes the body time to adapt to stuff, right?
Yep.
I don't have to talk about progressive overload to kids that I'm training, but that's what I'm trying to achieve for them, right? It's not worrying about my max bench press, right? You can't even do 20 push-ups properly, let alone your pull-ups, and you still struggle with this, right? It's being able to tell an athlete those things, right? It's not always, hey, you're great, man. That's awesome. It's no, that was slow. I need better. I need more effort out of you. It's like I say 20-yard sprint and you're pulling up at 16, 17 yards, right?
Coasting to the finish.
At high school, it's different. College, you are an adult being coached by another adult, they are going to treat you and speak to you like an adult.
Right. There's not gonna be a,
Mom and dad. Yeah.
There's not gonna be a lot of attaboys and pats on the back.
Yeah. Mom and dad aren't at practice, there to pick you up and carry you to the car. I think that's what we do a great job of, is eliminating all of those other things and giving kids and teens a spot to really focus on themselves and develop, and not have to worry about being with a giant crowd. Go to Crunch, go to Planet Fitness. You and hundreds of other people are going to be sharing that space, and you might not be able to do your med ball work, or where's your open space to do your sprinting? Where can you test things, right? Where's the data you need? So it's having a real facility that can not only give you all that data, all that feedback, but the programming, a game plan. We're doing goal reviews with all of our kids right now. The first question I'm asking you is, are you satisfied with your training program? I want to know, right? So what can we do to enhance that experience? We take pride in being the most expensive place in town. We used to be afraid of that. And now man, probably raise our rates.
We should. But again, we're conscientious of the fact that, yes, we believe our product should be match the value. However,
Absolutely.
We're also aware that, with parents have multiple kids, lots of things going on, costs continue to go up. So we try to be conscientious.
Yeah. I mean, there's facilities that charge 2-3 times more.
Yep.
Right. But the value is there, man. And a lot of those places have the track records of, hey, yeah, we just put 20 guys into the draft and now they're pros right now. And their little brothers and sisters will be coming through. And it's like, we don't have that capacity, but I can look at all the kids where it's like, oh, Division I, Division II. Oh, she's a national champion, and has been with us for 7 years. You can look at all of that, and now the younger ones are all coming in, and we're seeing kids that have been with us for short of a decade that are now in the workforce, or they're coaching, or kids wanting to go and study the boring stuff that I studied in college, but I can now give them a little more direction instead of, I want to study kinesiology. And it's like, hey, let's break that down, because you might want to study exercise science or sports medicine, but you don't know anything about that because it's just kinesiology buzzword. I need that to be a
just
coach.
Like business management.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I need the degree. I need the CSCS, or no one will hire me. And I was in those shoes, and I had all of this. No one would hire me, or you got to work for free. And it's like going all the way back now. I had student loans to pay, In those days, it was, you just graduated school. You need to now leave my house and go become an adult. And it was, no place wanted me. And there was a health club here in town, In Shape, still doing its thing. And that's where it all started, And I mean, that's shit, pardon my language, but, you and I have known each other for just shy of 20 years too, going back to just being a personal trainer, but always with that athletic thing, looking at corporate gyms. Corporate gyms really don't do a lot for kids. All the years of 24-hour fitness, it's like, we got an Olympic size basketball court, 50 yards of turf, and we're just training middle-aged folks. They don't want to do sports stuff and sprint and run, skip, hop, jump. And being in Pleasanton, we were surrounded by some of the better high schools in the Bay Area. It's like, what about all these kids that go here and there? And it was like, that's where you kind of see it, where it's like, I don't need to be this corporate guy. And I can remember the day I quit, I called you first before I even called Trista. And it was just like, hey, I did it. I didn't know what that looked like. And, if I go back, I'd do it all over again. But with better decisions maybe thrown in, but who knows? It's a wild ride, but I think it has to be that way. And working with athletes too, it's like you have to be able to know the wild that they go through too and know what they're dealing with. Like, I'm just as much as a therapist as I am a strength coach. The physical side's easy, emotional health, mental health, all of it. It's so big. I think being able to have a place where we can touch on all of those things. Like, we're not afraid to shy away from having to talk to a kid or have hard conversations. It's always been bigger than sports. They're always going to be there, but I think it's what we're doing is we're building good humans to become even better adults, and I think what we teach here, it's if they can keep continuing to do that after sports are over, just like, you can still go golf, and now it's, you got to be able to pick up the little guy and keep up with him because he gets faster and faster now, right? So now, man, I got to be able to go chase him, or when he's finally as tall as you, right? All of those things, so then now you have that outlet for him, and you already know he loves pushing sleds up and down a parking lot. Oh
God, yeah.
So, and that was the thing. He saw it one day and that looks cool. Where it's like most adults be like, that's not cool.
Yep.
But it is cool. There should be a little suck to all of this, uncomfortable with, or whatever, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. All of that macho crap. Just work out, have fun, be consistent, find good coaches.
That makes sense. Give me a bright spot. What's like a couple bright spots? What have been a couple of the biggest moments that you remember from the 7 years being here?
I think the biggest bright spot for me, probably going back to the very beginning when I was asked to create a baseball program for kids that came next door so they could work out after baseball practice. And I was like, this is finally it. We're going to get our first team. We're going to have all these kids. We're going to make all this money. And one kid showed up, and it was Kieran. And Kieran has continued to show up every day for 7 years. I coached him all throughout high school, and that kid just continued showing up. And then that kid played Division I baseball like he always wanted to do. And it was just being through that whole journey, multiple surgeries, him coaching here. And now he's going to become a fireman. It's little things like that where it's now we're family, me and that pain in the butt. That's probably a huge bright spot for me. And I think bright spot number 2 would probably just be being able to bring strength and conditioning to our town, to really take it outside of the gym, because everywhere I go, I represent Altamont Performance Lab. It's never me when I'm out there. It's always the gym. And I mean, that is my bright spot, is just this place right here. It's what I've always wanted. It's what I've always dreamed about. Puts tears in my eyes when I talk about it, but that's what it should do. So that's the passion that I have. And, all of it too. It's, the biggest bright spot is just having an awesome wife. Trista's great. She's the reason why I'm able to do any of this. You can't be married to a strength coach and not be a little crazy yourself. So, she's my bright spot. All of you guys. So that's why I do it.
That's sick. So with that, give me one like phrase or thing or that you would want to pass on to people listening to this. What's got any sage wisdom?
Oh man, people used to call them Vinnyisms when I taught at 24 Hour Fitness. I don't know if I could give one thing, just learn how to be consistent at everything, not just working out, just be consistent at life. You know, if you're married, be a good husband, be a good wife, you know, be consistent at showing up more than just for work and things like that. It's all of the things, you know, showing up for friends, family, you know, little things, graduations, promotions, games. You know, the more consistency you have in life, I think the better it's going to be, you know, even through all the ups and downs that I've had, you know, things that we've gone through. I've always just have had to be consistent. The gym has always been my consistency. So find something. Could be working on cars, listening to music, writing books, taking pictures. Find what you're passionate at, and you know, consistency will drive that passion. So I think that's it right there.
Fuck yeah. I love that.
Consistency drives the passion.
Right. And another important part, especially for the younger people listening, consistency in the face of adversity is what'll get you through. So
100%.
Consistency in the face of everything, whether it's going good or bad, will end up winning in the long run. I think that's where we're going to wrap. That was a perfect ending. Thank you, man, for your time. Everybody go check out Altamont Performance Lab. Check out Vinnie. Hit him with your Instagram handle or anywhere else you want them to find you.
Yeah, you can find me Instagram. It's Vinnie Performance Lab, and that's Vinnie with a Y. Phony Italians spell it with an IE. If you need some education there. I'm on Twitter. It's Coach Vinnie, APL. And then Altamont Performance Lab. That's our Instagram page. We're on Facebook. And yeah, we're all over the place. Thanks for listening.
Yep. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. And keep digging in.